Welcome, I'm GhostPrime, and I'll look at the Bumblebee AWE Striker figure. Now, what's really odd about this is the first and foremost thing is that it's Bumblebee and not Beachcomber. Not Hound, this should be Beachcomber. Even by transformation, he should be Beachcomber. It's very Beachcomber. In fact, I think it probably at one time was, and maybe some Hasbro execs were like, no, we need a more recognizable character, just throw him into Bumblebee, because it's just the chest and the head. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Another thing that doesn't make a lot of sense is he doesn't come with crankcase. He comes with Stalker. So let's go over it in the review. But before that, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, comment. Without any further ado, let's get to the review. And as we do, let's take a look at the packaging. It is, just like the Megatron, a very cool sort of dual package with the Transformers on the left and G.I. Joe package on the right. Kind of wish this was an actual window, but I love this design. I think it's really rad. I think it's very cool. You see Autobot Bumblebee AWE Striker there. And you have the Lonzo Stalker Wilkinson right there, and you show that says the rendering here and rendering a Bumblebee there. On the top, it's two steps. 1, 2. It's a little bit more than that. On the side, you have the two pictures of Bumblebee in both of his modes. On this side, you have the G.I. Joe side. Again, very cool that they did these box styles like this. On the back, there's the vehicle mode, 21 steps to robot mode. And, you know, I like this. I think this is kind of, I love this box design. It's really cool. Nothing really on here. But, you know, getting it open like this, it just slides out apart. And you have just the Hasbro boxes. Get that in camera there. It says G.I. Joe 2022 Bumblebee AWE Striker. Top secret on the back. So opening up the package contents, this is what we get. You get these two antennae that go on the either side in vehicle mode. A set of instructions. You can see the antenna there. A emplaced gun that goes on the top of the vehicle. You get a roll bar cage which snaps onto the back. Bumblebee himself. And Stalker, which I might open this guy because he is one of my favorite Joes from when I was a kid. But the back here shows him in the vehicle. So these are really cool retro sort of cards. I do like these. I don't know. It's hard to not open these. I'm not a G.I. Joe collector, but I have an affinity for this guy. So I don't know. So a Bumblebee. Now, there is one thing that is missing from this. As you can see here, there is a little nub there. And what that does is it goes into that gun in vehicle mode. It's a hose. That was on the original one. It is not present on here, but the parts are there. So I assume if you have that hose or a hose, little rubber hose, you could probably put that on and make that more accurate. So what you're going to need to do with this piece right here is take Bumblebee, and it has a hinge part right there. And then you just kind of snap this on. And it's kind of hard to do with all these. There you go, just snap it on like that. And that kind of folds in. And these go on the top like that. So this piece does get in the way here, which is really irritating. It's in the way of the legs. These almost have an alternator feel. This here gun can go on a shoulder mounted, which is kind of tight to get in there. We are shoulder mounted gun, and there's a little spot right there for a G.I. Joe foot to go, so you could have a Joe sticking up the back. These can stick here, like that, or you can remove them, whichever you like. If you like to have them just up like this, they can go in these ports here and just have these stuck up like that. And that keeps happening, but we will get to that. And so let me clean this up a little bit and we'll get to some closer up look. Now I got it cleaned up a little bit here. So here he is in bot mode. And the biggest thing is this piece on the back. It goes right into the legs and doesn't really allow for any movement. You can kind of clear it out of the way by moving it up, but there's a transformation joint here that's supposed to move it down. And it still gets in the way. You could take the whole thing completely off because it just kind of friction snaps on there, but it is very irritating. They should have had an extra hinge. This thing is definitely more of a GI Joe vehicle, and I think that really shines through. So, you know, as we kind of see it, and get those straightened up. But yeah, so yeah, it's okay. Let's look at that head sculpt real quick. Now, he does have light piping, but it's not the greatest light piping. Stand up. Not the greatest light piping. So he has clear eyes here. And the head sculpt is, I mean, it's okay. I think it actually shows up better on camera than it looks in person. In person, it looks cheap and unrefined. Doesn't look very good. And moving down to here, you can see the chest with the Autobot logo. Some yellow shows up on the shoulders, on the forearms, and the crotch. Otherwise, it's all GI Joe from there down. Now, you can, like I said earlier, put a Joe here, and he could stand on the back. But there's really not a lot you could do with it. Now, joint-wise, he is kind of floppy, which is really irritating. His knees are really floppy on mine. Yours, of course, may vary. But it's seriously just, it's not the greatest. There are problems. So let me just do some quick comparisons real fast. And then I'll get into the articulation and transformation. Here he is with the other Joe vehicle, or in this case, Cobra vehicle, with Megatron. So he is quite a bit smaller. Now I am going to use Legends Beachcomber here as an example, so you get an idea of how big he is. But what I really wanted to do is show you just how close this design is. I mean, they both have wheels on the legs and the shoulders. They both have the front of the buggy here on the legs and the bars on the back. This is Beachcomber, or I guess Bumblecomber. I mean, it's so close that there had to have been something that stopped them and had to switch it to Bumblebee, because this is a Beachcomber. And if this was Beachcomber, it would have made this infinitely better, because I mean, it is so similar. Let's start to get into articulation. Now let's do articulation as he is here. So articulation, we'll start with the gun, goes up and down and 360, because it just pegs in here. The head goes 360 degrees around. I don't think there's any up and down, no left and right, nothing like that. Shoulders go up to here, down and all the way around. There's an extra hinge here, so you kind of get it up further. He has a bicep swivel. He has a wrist swivel. You see some hollowness under the arm there. He does have waist. Can't go too far, just there, and it's hindered by a hinge here and this piece on the back. His legs could go out that far and not too far back, much further without this piece on it. He has knees that could actually, there's a joint here and a joint here, so if you could get any further, you could get further than that because of the bits and parts on it. You can't. Legs go out about that far, and again, not super tight joints. The knees, not super tight. In fact, if I hold him up, he just kind of falls back. If this wasn't here, he would just fall backwards on these knees. So I guess it's for something. But yeah, he does have a thigh swivel, 360 degrees, and nothing really at the feet. I guess you kind of get his feet. His feet are chairs, so you kind of get that motion, but he has no ankle tilt, which is a shame. Because while it stands okay with this on it, it will fall backwards a bit. You see, he kind of wants to fall backwards as it is. But you can get him to stand, just not really pose super well. So to get him transformed, first thing I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and take off the in-place gun and straighten out his arms. I'm going to move his arms out, make sure this is already folded out like it is. I'm going to take the legs. Actually, first let's open this. So there is this piece here will come off all the time. It holds fairly well, but it'll come off all the time. Let's just start with opening that up. So there's what it is there's a little peg there, and a slot there, and that's where they peg together. And this just kind of folds out like that. You can see the stick shift right there. So this chest will become the back. So, and then the arms kind of get folded out like so. The head is on this piece here, so it folds back kind of automatically when you put this whole piece like that. So then we're going to go ahead, just kind of get this out of the way. There's slots right in there, and there's a peg right there, so that just pegs in. It helps that get out of the way. Peg these in on either side like that. And then we're going to do the legs. It's really floppy to transform. It's not a fun transform, but it's easy. So these kind of move down, like so, down and around. Take his seats. Then you go ahead and just kind of move that down flush, kind of put that like that. You get this sort of right there, just kind of fits in on either side. Down all the way, up. Steering wheel moves down. Take the legs, peg them together. So you take this whole piece and just kind of flip it around. See his knees here are double jointed knees. Oh, legs come undone. And then this tabs into the bottom. I think it tabs in. Let me see. Yeah, there's two tabs right there. And then this will tab in to the legs. So I got to do them together. Then it tabs in. It holds okay. So you'll see tabs the chair here. The chairs go in. There's also tabs here and here. You got to kind of line all these up. Go out of there. Put those tabs, like I said earlier. Make sure this part here is tabbed into these slots. Make sure these are tabbed in as well. These are tabbed in. Those come untabbed. These go under here. These tab into the bottom here. Now, finally, move this front piece down. And there we have it. So what I'm gonna do is I'll make sure this is all tabbed in. I'll be right back. As you can see, transformation is a tabby mess. It's really, really just messy to do. It comes undone as you're doing it, which is irritating. But once you get it into the mode, it's solid enough. Then you go ahead and just stick the in-place gun on top right there. And there you have it. Now it rolls really well. I mean, it looks the part. It looks just wonderful. I mean, look at this. This looks really, really nice. The only way you could tell that it's Bumblebee is the back right here, or the yellow showing up there. Now, I really think blue would have actually set it off a lot better. They even got blue for the headlights. But it is pretty well done. Now, one of the things I was saying about this is there are, as you can see, there's a little like, see if you can see right there, little like nubs right there to where this is where the hose would go on the original, which those things are still there, so you can do it. All this stuff here that was a sticker detail are tampographed. It is missing a few. There's a few stickers up here on the original that are not present on this one. But overall, I think it does a pretty good job of becoming that original. So you can have a Joe stand on the back. You can have him sit in here. You could also have him control the gun on top via the passenger seat. I mean, it does a good job at being this buggy, and it looks great. It does. It looks fantastic. All right, there he is with the hiss, so you can get a good idea of just the scale of it being kind of a big vehicle mode, actually, with the size of the robot. This is always cool to see. I mean, they look good together. And there he is with the Titans Returns Beachcomber, which does a decent job. I like it. I like how they did the bars. I think the bars could have been done here a little better. Some hinges, something, because they just get in the way. So I think it's really successful in what it is, and I really like the way it looks in vehicle mode. So in conclusion, he's not as bad as the Hiss Megatron. This whole back piece is terrible. I wish it folded up a little better. I think they're really trying to go for that absolute aesthetic of the car, of the buggy mode. It looks just like the original toy, and I think it could actually fool somebody into thinking it was the actual original toy and not a Transformer, and I think that's what they're going for. Kind of similar to alternators in that respect. So it's interesting that they did that. However, the loose knees on them are really annoying. The lack of ankle tilts, it's got weird proportions. I think this was definitely done by like the G.I. Joe team and not a Transformer team. It just feels that way. The head sculpt could be better. Like, it's not terrible, but it's definitely not that Hasbro quality of design, you know. And that brings me to the pack-in figure, Stalker. And Stalker is a great figure. He was one of my absolute favorites growing up, but it's weird that it comes with it. I just don't understand why they did that and not actually have Crankcase in there, which was the original one. It's a weird one. It's definitely not as bad as the Megatron, but it's still not great. So if you really are into G.I. Joe and happen to like Transformers 2, then I recommend it. If you're just like Transformers, then I can say you could probably skip it, personally. I mean, he's Bumblebee. It's a weird one for Bumblebee. If he was Beachcomber, it would have been definitely more of a recommend. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.